This discovery in the Mariana Trench will transform geopolitics. The Mariana Trench, nearly 11,000 meters down in the crushing darkness of the Pacific. This underwater canyon holds secrets that could reshape global power forever. But today, these depths come under threat from a new kind of race, one that could determine who controls the future of our planet. Now, China is deploying fleets of autonomous robots, building permanent underwater bases, and quietly moving to claim what lies at the bottom before anyone else can. As the US cuts ocean research budgets and pulls back from deep-sea exploration, China is diving deeper, moving faster, and investing more aggressively than any nation in history. We are witnessing the start of a deep-sea great game, warns Dr. Robert Ballard, legendary ocean explorer who discovered the Titanic. Whoever controls access to these depths gains enormous strategic leverage over global communications, energy resources, and military positioning. The threats to American dominance are very real. Subsurface cavities that could hide entire submarine fleets, methane deposits worth more than the Persian Gulf's oil reserves. Chinese scientists have already detected unexplained subsurface voids using quantum sensors, possibly giant cavities beneath the trench walls that no other nation even knows exist. Meanwhile, Chinese engineers have revealed compact devices capable of severing undersea communications at depths of up to 4,000 meters. Over 95% of global internet traffic travels through these vulnerable undersea cables. In a crisis, these tools could silently disable communications between continents without a single surface ship being detected. The stakes could not be higher. As the US relies on aging technology, China operates AI-controlled robot swarms that coordinate in real time across the deepest ocean floors. Now experts are racing to understand what China has truly discovered before it's too late. Historical scene. It's the year 1960. The crew of the Bathy Scaife Trieste prepares for humanity's deepest dive at a US Navy facility in San Diego. Swiss engineer Jacques Piccard and US Navy Lieutenant Don Walsh are about to descend into Earth's most extreme frontier, a place so hostile that the crushing pressure could implode their steel sphere in milliseconds. The Trieste sits bobbing in the Pacific swells like a giant fishing float. Above the waterline, a massive white tank filled with gasoline provides buoyancy. Below, suspended from steel cables, hangs a thick-walled metal sphere barely large enough for two men. This crude craft represents humanity's most ambitious attempt to reach the bottom of the world. The ocean around them stretches endlessly in all directions. Above, morning sunlight dances across gentle waves where seabirds dive for schools of flying fish. Below lies an alien world that no human has ever seen, a realm of crushing darkness where pressure exceeds 1,000 atmospheres and temperatures hover just above freezing. At exactly 8:23 a.m. Pacific time, the Trieste begins its descent into the vertical realm of increasing pressure, darkness, and alien life forms that have never felt sunlight. Ocean descent journey. The first few meters pass quickly through familiar blue-green waters, where schools of tropical fish dart between coral formations and dolphins surface to breathe. Here, temperatures remain warm, and light penetrates clearly to depths of nearly 200 meters. Then they cross into the twilight zone, the mesopelagic realm stretching from 200 to 1,000 meters down. Sunlight begins to fade. The water turns from bright blue to deep indigo. Bizarre creatures with glowing lures drift like living stars through the fading light. Silver ribbonfish, longer than city buses, undulate through the darkness. Transparent sea angels flutter their wings like appendages as they hunt smaller prey. At 500 meters, bioluminescence becomes the dominant light source. Creatures create their own illumination through chemical reactions, living flashlights in an increasingly dark world. Vampire squid spread their black webs like umbrellas. Deep-sea jellies pulse with ethereal blue lights, deeper still into the midnight zone. Total darkness surrounds them. The only light comes from creatures that manufacture their own. Anglerfish with glowing lures, lanternfish with rows of photophores along their sides, and ghostly siphonphores that stretch like living galaxies through the black water. At 4,000 meters, they reach the abyssal zone, a world of eternal night. Strange, ghostly forms drift past their porthole. Giant tube worms sway in currents they cannot feel. Dumbo octopi flap their ear-like fins as they glide through the darkness like underwater elephants. At 6,000 meters, they enter the Hadal Zone, named after Hades, the ancient Greek underworld. This is trench territory, where only the deepest ocean canyons extend further down. Very few submarines have ever reached these depths. The water feels thick, almost viscous under such extreme compression. The deeper they sink, the more alien everything becomes. The Trieste's hull groans and creaks. Every meter downward adds another crushing atmosphere of pressure. Darkness becomes absolute, except for the artificial lights cutting small cones through the black water. The historical event. After nearly 5 hours of descent through this vertical alien landscape, the Trieste finally touched the bottom of Challenger Deep at 10,912 meters below sea level. Picard and Walsh have reached the deepest point on Earth's surface, a place more remote and inaccessible than the surface of Mars. The impact was gentle, almost anticlimactic. Their sphere settled into soft sediment that had been accumulating for millions of years. Outside their tiny porthole lay the most extreme environment on Earth, colder than Antarctica, darker than deep space, under pressure that would instantly liquefy any unprotected human body. For 20 precious minutes, they peered through their small window into an alien world. What they saw challenged everything scientists believed about life's limits. Strange, pale creatures moved across the seafloor where no life should exist. Flatfish glided through the sediment like ghostly rays. Tiny amphipods scuttled across the bottom like translucent shrimp, their bodies somehow adapted to survive instantly lethal conditions. Picard later described the moment. We saw life where no life should exist. Creatures that had never seen sunlight, never felt anything but crushing pressure. Yet they thrived in conditions that would destroy any machine we could build. But their historic dive lasted only those brief 20 minutes at the bottom. The technology was too crude, too dangerous, too expensive to sustain extended operations. After collecting a few photographs and observations, they began the long ascent back to the surface world. Then, for over 50 years, humans abandoned the deepest ocean entirely. While humans reached the moon 6 times between 1969 and 1972, no one returned to the deepest part of our own planet. The abyss returned to its ancient silence, keeping its secrets locked away. For 5 decades, Challenger Deep remained more remote than outer space. Modern investigation. Today, that half-century of silence has been shattered by an unprecedented transformation. China has revolutionized deep-sea exploration, from rare heroic missions, into systematic conquest of Earth's final frontier. The breakthrough began in November 2020, when China's state-of-the-art submersible Fendozhe carried 3 oceanographers to 10,909 meters, making China only the second nation after the United States to reach Challenger Deep with human occupants. But unlike previous expeditions that celebrated reaching the bottom once, China didn't simply plant a flag and withdraw. Fendozhe, completed an extraordinary 13 trench dives in a single expedition, 8 of them below the psychologically significant 10,000-meter mark. What had taken other nations decades to achieve once, China accomplished repeatedly within weeks. Dr. Cui Wei-chung, chief designer of China's deep-sea program, explains the paradigm shift. We're not just visiting the deep ocean as tourists. We're moving in to stay permanently. Every dive teaches us more about surviving and operating in this environment. By 2024, China had moved far beyond single crewed missions to something unprecedented in ocean exploration history. They developed coordinated fleets of autonomous robots, some no bigger than shoeboxes, that can withstand crushing pressure while operating independently for weeks without human intervention. These aren't simple cameras or sample collectors. They're sophisticated AI-controlled systems with multiple sensors, manipulator arms, and decision-making capabilities that allow them to coordinate in real time, sharing data and adapting to new discoveries without surface control. The Chinese State Oceanic Administration now operates what amounts to an underwater internet of robotic explorers. In 2024 alone, Chinese submersibles and autonomous vehicles completed 246 deep-sea dives, more than all other nations combined over the same period. Each robot learns from the others, building a comprehensive three-dimensional picture that no single submersible could achieve. One robot might detect a geological anomaly, then automatically signal others to converge and investigate from multiple angles. They share sensor data in real time, creating detailed maps, collecting coordinated samples, and building databases that dwarf anything other nations have assembled. What China has built is genuinely unprecedented, says Dr. Don Wright, former White House ocean policy advisor. They've created the world's first autonomous deep-sea network. Advanced technology systems. The sophistication of China's deep-sea technology extends far beyond what most observers realize. Chinese scientists have developed quantum gravimeters specifically designed for deep ocean deployment. These devices can detect minuscule changes in gravitational fields caused by density variations in seafloor geology. Unlike conventional sonar that shows surface features, quantum sensors can effectively see through solid rock to identify subsurface structures, cavities, or mineral deposits. The military implications are profound. These sensors could locate submarine hiding places or track nuclear submarines by detecting their gravitational signatures. Chinese engineers have also solved the fundamental problem of electronics under extreme pressure. Traditional computers fail catastrophically as components compress and electrical connections break. Chinese researchers created pressure-resistant semiconductors and flexible circuits that actually improved their performance under extreme compression. This allows Chinese robots to operate sophisticated artificial intelligence, advanced sensors, and real-time data processing in environments where other nations' equipment would be crushed instantly. The technological advantage is decisive. Perhaps most concerning are the dual-use applications. The same autonomous vehicles used for scientific research can easily be adapted for military surveillance, sabotage, or weapons deployment. A 2024 Pentagon assessment warned Chinese deep-sea capabilities have potential applications for anti-submarine warfare, undersea infrastructure attack, and covert intelligence gathering in areas where U.S. forces have no comparable presence. Discoveries and revelations. For the first time in human history, China's quantum-equipped robotic explorers have mapped what lies beneath the seafloor itself, revealing discoveries that could fundamentally alter our understanding of Earth's deepest places. The 2025 Chinese Deep Sea Survey, conducted by 12 autonomous vehicles over 6 months, identified at least 17 major subsurface anomalies in the Mariana Trench alone. These aren't simple caves, but complex three-dimensional structures, massive hollow spaces that could potentially conceal entire submarine fleets or serve as natural underwater bases. As one U.S. defense analyst privately warned congressional staffers, if there are natural hiding places 10,000 meters down that only China knows about, they've gained a strategic advantage we cannot match. These could serve as covert bases, completely invisible to satellite surveillance. The energy implications are equally staggering. Chinese submersibles have systematically mapped vast deposits of methane hydrates, crystallized substances that release methane gas at ratios exceeding 160 cubic meters per cubic meter of material. The energy density surpasses most conventional fossil fuels. Conservative estimates suggest the South China Sea deposits alone may contain energy equivalent to more than double all proven oil reserves in the Persian Gulf, explains Dr. Carolyn Ruppel, a methane hydrate specialist at the U.S. Geological Survey. Whoever masters extraction technology first gains enormous geopolitical leverage. China has already demonstrated commercial viability. In 2017, they conducted the world's first successful offshore production test, extracting over 300,000 cubic meters of gas during a 60-day trial. Now they're scaling up operations in depths where no other nation can effectively compete. The China National Offshore Oil Corporation announced plans to begin commercial methane hydrate extraction by 2028, with production targets exceeding 1 billion cubic meters annually by 2030. This would make China the world's first nation to commercialize this revolutionary energy source. Even more revolutionary are the biological discoveries. Chinese marine biologists have sequenced extremophile genes from dozens of trench-dwelling organisms that survive under conditions that should make life impossible. These creatures possess DNA repair mechanisms and pressure-resistant proteins unlike anything found in surface life forms. The pressure-resistant proteins could revolutionize industrial processes. The DNA repair mechanisms evolved by these creatures could lead to breakthrough treatments for cancer, radiation damage, and cellular degradation. Dr. Liu Jiasong, a biochemist at the Chinese Academy of Sciences, explains, these organisms have evolved incredibly efficient systems that prevent genetic damage under lethal conditions. If we can replicate these mechanisms, we could develop treatment for genetic diseases, cancer, and even aging itself. Chinese deep-sea infrastructure. China's ambitions extend far beyond exploration. They're systematically building permanent infrastructure designed to establish long-term operational control over the deepest parts of the ocean. The centerpiece is the world's first deep-sea research habitat, officially approved by Beijing in March 2025 and scheduled for deployment by 2027. This pressurized station will operate at 2,000 meters depth in the South China Sea, allowing 6 scientists to live and work underwater continuously for up to 30 days. The engineering challenges rival those of the International Space Station. The habitat must generate its own power, recycle air and water, process waste, and maintain structural integrity under conditions more extreme than space. More significantly, the base will anchor a comprehensive monitoring system encompassing arrays of seafloor observatories, autonomous submarine drones, and surface vessels. This integrated network will create the most intensively monitored patch of deep ocean on Earth. The dual-use nature means it could track foreign submarine activities, monitor undersea cable installations, and detect military operations. Chinese engineers are developing autonomous maintenance systems that can repair and expand the habitat without human intervention, potentially expanding their presence continuously without surface detection. Admiral John Richardson, former Chief of Naval Operations, warned, "A permanent Chinese presence in the deep South China Sea fundamentally alters the strategic balance. They're not just claiming territory on the surface. They're establishing control of the ocean column from surface to seafloor." Global implications. The transformation represents a fundamental shift in global power dynamics that most world leaders have yet to comprehend. China's deep-sea dominance directly threatens critical infrastructure that modern civilization depends on. The compact devices capable of severing undersea communications at extreme depths pose an unprecedented strategic vulnerability. During a geopolitical crisis, Chinese assets could quietly disable critical communication links without attribution. Internet traffic between the United States and European allies travels through a limited number of choke point cables. Severing just a few key connections could isolate entire regions from global communications networks. Dr. Michael McConnell, former Director of National Intelligence, warns, in a conflict scenario, the ability to selectively cut undersea cables gives China escalation dominance. They could isolate adversaries from command and control systems while maintaining their own communications. The economic implications extend beyond military concerns. International financial markets depend on split-second data transmission. Disrupting these connections could trigger market collapses and economic chaos. Perhaps more concerning is the intelligence gathering potential. Chinese quantum sensor networks can potentially detect and track submarine movements across vast ocean areas. If Chinese sensors can reliably track submarine movements, the entire foundation of nuclear deterrence could be compromised. The United States faces an increasingly critical disadvantage. While China floods its ocean programs with funding and attracts top scientists through generous grants, America's deep-sea capabilities depend on aging infrastructure and declining investment. The 60-year-old Alvin submersible can only reach 6,500 meters, less than two-thirds the depth of China's newest autonomous robots. Plans to build new full ocean depth submersibles have stalled due to funding constraints. Even more problematic is the brain drain. The 2024 federal budget proposed eliminating funding for critical oceanographic research programs. The uncertainty prompted hundreds of leading researchers to seek opportunities abroad. Chinese recruitment efforts specifically target Western deep-sea researchers, with offers including six-figure salaries, comprehensive research funding, and access to cutting-edge facilities that surpass anything available in the West. Dr. Sarah Chen, a former MIT ocean engineer who relocated to Beijing, explains, China offered unlimited research funding, state-of-the-art equipment, and the chance to work on projects impossible elsewhere due to budget constraints. They're building the future of ocean science. As former White House science advisor John Holdren explains, when you fire scientists and dismantle research programs, you can't recreate that expertise quickly. Scientific knowledge is cumulative. It builds on decades of accumulated experience. You lose technological momentum that takes decades to rebuild. The deep sea may ultimately decide the next century's balance of global power. Control over deep ocean resources, communications infrastructure, and strategic positioning could prove more important than traditional measures like surface naval forces. By the time surface-focused policymakers realize what's happening 11,000 meters down, China may have already secured irreversible control over Earth's last unexplored frontier. The race for the deep ocean is already over in many respects. China committed to systematic dominance, while other nations focused elsewhere. What happens next will determine whether humanity finally explores its own planet's depths, or whether one nation seizes control, while others watch from the surface, unable to respond to a challenge they failed to recognize until too late.